Making Singapore more inclusive, a new 8-year plan aims to empower persons with disabilities. A second fire breaks out at a flat in Jurong East 1 day after a man died in the first blaze. And the Asian Civilizations Museum responds to claims that this was a stolen artifact. Welcome to The Big Story. I'm Haryanto Diman. Subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you will not miss an episode. Education, employment and independent living. Singapore's latest Enabling Masterplan makes a total of 29 recommendations to support persons with disabilities and enable them to contribute to society. And all have been accepted by the government. One of its key targets is to have 40% of working-age PWDs employed by 2030. This is up from 30% right now. Another recommendation, designing alternative types of employment such as micro-jobs or temporary tasks that usually take a short time to complete. There's also a need to enhance support for PWDs to live independently.
Living independently is not necessarily like what many people would think that, oh, I can run, I can do things on my own. But people with disabilities and different type of disabilities would have different kind of care and a different degree of independence. So like people with muscular dystrophy, we physically not so independent, but intellectually we could, cognitively we could. So if we are given the empowerment to choose, make choices, to when there is there's environments that allows the person to be able to live independently in their own sense and their own terms, that would give them a meaningful life, a dignified life.
Joining us is J R Karthik, CEO of social service agency AWWA. Welcome to the show, Karthik. In your view, what will it take for this master plan to succeed? How can services be expanded and support be strengthened to improve the lives of people with disabilities?
So the master plan should be looked at holistically. The master plan itself is just the plan, but for this to work, all hands on deck approach. Really, we need to bring in different parties to work on the plans. For example, the social service agencies, caregivers, persons with disabilities themselves, the private sector, donors, volunteers, multiple parties should come together to work on this. So then only it is really possible to create really an inclusive society.
Karthik, let's talk about the emphasis on lifelong learning and living independently. What are some examples of how we can help persons with disabilities prepare for a more independent life?
So independence starts with being able to do their activities of their daily living. Get up, shower, go to toilet and groom themselves well, then go out, take public transport, go to a coffee shop, have meals independently with or without support, sometimes with or without assistive devices, with or without some help. But independence itself is the first priority. Only when the person is independent, then they will be able to interact with the community. That is actually called integration, right? So take public transport, for example. I may be able to walk, which is independence, but I should be able to take public transport and then go to one place to another place, which is integration. How can we do this? Is organizations providing support with in terms of therapy, in terms of assistive technology, in terms of public education, and that's how we make sure that our clients are able to be independent and then interact with the systems in the community, so they are able to participate. And there may be sometimes barriers to this participation, and we got to remove those barriers. For example, physical barrier is one easy thing to understand. If there are physical barriers, we have to remove those physical barriers. Put ramps, for example. Once we do the ramps, and it is easy for them to participate. So this is how these barriers can be removed.
And what can members of the public do to play their part in making Singapore a fair and inclusive society?
So being independent is first step, and able to participate in the community is the second step. But again, independent and able to participate is very person specific, person centric. But the community must be able to accept them. Community must be able to give them opportunity to participate. So that is where the inclusion starts. When integration becomes inclusion is when the community um, opens up and gives them opportunity to participate in the community. So the community plays a huge role in this. If you are an employer, please employ persons with disabilities. Not just employ, tweak your policies to support them, maybe work from home arrangements. Simple things, provide assistive technology to access computers and things like that. This is what employers can do. What can the colleagues do in office? So they can accept them. They can accept persons with disabilities as someone who has additional needs, and they will not perform the same way that you and I do. And these are the things that anybody can do. If you are a parent who's you're sending your child to a preschool or a mainstream school, tell your children that there are children who are also attending these mainstream schools and preschools with additional needs, and how to talk to them, how to embrace them. And these are the small things that we can do. And this is how inclusion starts. Inclusion actually starts with some kindness.
Karthik, thank you for the perspectives. J R Karthik there, CEO of Social Service Agency, AWWA. In other news, the latest COE tender exercise ending with higher premiums for all categories except one. Category A sees the biggest increase, with premiums almost 10% higher than the previous exercise. Meanwhile, premiums for Category B cars increased by 4.7% and Category C premiums are up by 5.4%. The only category that sees a dip is Category E, a drop of 0.9%. A new fire has broken out in the 9th-story flat in Jurong East this morning, a day after the first blaze took a man's life. There are no reported injuries from this second fire incident. SCDF found that the latest fire started in one of the bedrooms, likely reignited by deep-seated embers within the rubble. This incident follows SCDF's efforts to conduct damping down operations yesterday, in order to prevent any potential rekindle of fires from the hot burnt surfaces. This afternoon, cleaners were spotted leaving the flat with a large bin containing debris from the fire, including burnt furniture and fans. A resident living one floor below telling ST that she could smell smoke at about 5 o'clock this morning. It wasn't as bad as yesterday, but she and other neighbours evacuated from their flats anyway and went downstairs until it was safe to go back up. Singapore's key exports rose 7% last month from a year ago, at a slower pace compared to 8.5% growth in June. A drop in shipments to China, Japan, Hong Kong and Thailand was one factor, with an analyst telling ST that it appears the rebound in China's economy following its COVID-19 lockdowns is proving to be lackluster. A nearly 400-year-old artwork at the Asian Civilizations Museum was acquired through established procedures set by the National Heritage Board. The museum, responding to the Straits Times' queries on claims that the religious artifact was allegedly stolen from Nepal. ACM, though, did not reply to questions on how the artwork, which is on display at the museum, had been obtained or at what cost. It further noted that the object is not listed in the Art Loss Register, the world's largest private database on stolen art. Allegations that the artwork had been stolen in 1999 and traced to ACM first surfaced on the Lost Arts of Nepal Facebook page on Sunday. And Singaporeans can't get enough of this pasta in a hawker centre, selling out in 35 minutes. It's the first day of Italian chef Mirko Fabrile's pop-up at Chinatown Complex Food Centre in a month-long collaboration with local stall Noodles. The pasta dishes are priced between $7 and $10, and only 80 portions are available daily from 11 a.m. until they sell out. I have to say, my favorite might be the ricotta and tomato cavatelli. Those are our top stories today. Visit straitstimes.com for more news and our YouTube channel for more videos. Subscribe by clicking the red button below. I'm Haryanto Diman. See you tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.